Hi, Eric.
Hey, Jen.
How are you?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing great. It's St. Patrick's Day,
It's St. Patrick's Day.
and I know that's a really big deal for you in your house. Not quite
Hmm.
so much in my house, but it's one of those days that supports things that I enjoy doing. So so I'm on board with it. I
Yeah,
can find a way to get on board with that pretty quick. Um, Welcome to Just the Tips. Here
yeah,
we are.
welcome.
Just the tips. Today we're going to talk about
St. Patrick's Day.
it's St. Patrick's Day. We're going to talk about host liquor
Yeah, or we'll
and
talk about what
some
happens when you want to host a party for work.
insurance things related to that. So I think
Hmm.
it's going to be really good. But before we
Hmm.
get into that, I
Hmm.
feel like I need to address the elephant in the room here. You're very dressed down this
Oh,
afternoon.
yeah, yeah.
Listen, I'm all for casual comfort. But a t-shirt and a hoodie for just the tips seems like a bit much.
So if you don't know this about me, t-shirts are like one of my favorite things in the universe, and the opportunity to wear one at work is like super high on my list of things to do. I think I
Did
have.
we authorize that today?
I did.
No. Well, that's good.
So t-shirts are like one of my favorite things, right? They have so many great things about them. They're soft, they're low maintenance. I get home, I can't wait to get into a t-shirt. I have hundreds of t-shirts. They're great conversation starters. Like you walk in anywhere with a Ren and Stimpy t-shirt on, someone's talking to you. I have old
That's
ones,
probably true.
I have new ones. I get crazy excited about my
I
t-shirts.
have mine on today also.
I know,
This is the only green thing I have.
but
It's
you know
a
what?
Star Wars t-shirt.
And we didn't coordinate this. They're both
Oh yeah, look at yours is a Star Wars
Star
too.
Wars. Yeah.
Holy cow,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was just lying.
I know. So, it's St. Patrick's Day. What do you like to do on St. Patrick's Day? Oh.
Aggressive. I got a little out of control fast right there. It's St. Patrick's Day
It's St. Patrick's Day.
today?
Yeah, today.
Get out of here. Oh.
Yeah, get out of here. What's that on there? Oh, it's not beer.
No,
Oh.
just so everybody knows, this is definitely not beer because I'm at work and I wouldn't be drinking at work. Oh,
Oh,
you know
me
what
neither.
else? Is that beer or is that not beer?
It's not beer.
Good. So I have a not beer also. So I have a question for you.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you know, you and I are presumably at work right now. We're drinking not beer because
We're at work.
we're at work. But let's say, for instance, a firm decided that they wanted to have a little St. Patrick's Day gathering at their office.
Like a little late lunch.
A
little late lunch with some not beer.
A two not beer lunch.
Yeah.
As it were. What might that firm have to be concerned about? Are there issues associated with that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So normally we get this question around the holidays, like Christmas or New Year's, the holiday season goes on. But the truth is, you can pretty much throw a party anytime. Sorry about the rustling in the background. Eric's got to clean up his not beer mess.
Clean up my not beer really quick.
I warned him that it was gonna do that, but in any event,
I didn't think not beer could have a nitro inside of the can, but this is not beer.
it's cold brew. It's cold brew coffee with a nitrogen insert in there, so it's not beer. Anyway,
it's good not beer.
it's not beer. So we get this question sometimes. Hey, we want to rent out a place. We want to do a little party. We've got one client who has a bar in their office. It's one of my favorite places in the universe.
Pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. So the question is, what happens when we want to do that? When we're the office that's serving beer, or in our case, not beer? What kind of liability do we have? So most firms have a general liability policy, whether that's part of a package or it's part of a business owner's policy. And there's an exclusion within the policy for liquor liability.
And this isn't unique to design firms, business owners policies. This is the type of coverage that any business, that operates in New York State is going to have similar coverage.
Sure. As a matter of fact, this is the ISO forms, or the proprietary forms or standard carrier forms, URB forms inclusive, so you don't need to know any of what that means, but just know that this is standard.
I don't.
That's really scary. So the exclusion goes something like this. We have, you have no coverage for bodily injury or property damage when it's caused by you serving alcohol to someone else. But the exclusion only applies, here's the hooray moment, the exclusion only applies if you're in the business of actually manufacturing, selling, distributing alcohol. So as long as you're not ABC architecture and beer, you're fine.
Right. So if my business isn't to sell or distribute or manufacture not beer or any other type of beverage, and I just wanted to have an office party, I'm okay.
Yeah, you're fine. I'm
That's
sorry.
good.
I was just taking a sip of my not beer because I'm a little thirsty. St. Patrick's Day. So you're fine. You're fine with that. But there's more than just that liability for property damage and bodily injury that could happen, right? So the obvious things are you have an office happy hour or late lunch party with some not beer or beer, and someone has a little too much of the real beer and they get in their car and they drive home and they drive into a house and they cause property damage, and somebody brings the insured in on that for over serving. Yikes is right. So depending upon your policy, the coverage and all the terms and conditions of the policy, et cetera, you can look to your general liability to help you out in that situation. But what about, and we all have them, that employee in the office who's like one drink away from an inappropriate comment, right? I
don't know who that person would be. I always I'm not proud of it, I guess. But I will share with just the two of us, since it's just us here in this room right now.
Yeah, no, share away.
1 or 2 beer Eric is
so much fun.
A great time.
Yeah, laughs at all my jokes.
Great time. Yeah. He tells jokes, he laughs, he thinks everything's funny.
Yeah.
Really a great time. 4 or 5 beer Eric, can get a little inappropriate from time to time. And I am pretty sure I'm not the only one like that. So that is something that firms and business owners have to be, I guess, aware of. You have these office parties, somebody is overserved or overindulges and starts saying things that they think are funny and it's not being received the same way.
Right.
So there's issues with that.
Yeah. So you have to be aware of 4 or 5 beer Eric and keep him away from the bar. So he doesn't, it's kind of my job sometimes. But you're right. We can all get to that point where we say something inappropriately or it's misheard. I mean, how many arguments have you had with friends or family where somebody's or both of you have had too much to drink and you misunderstand something and it escalates? So you have to be careful too that you understand that there are risks to having an office party or a happy hour, and to keep it under control, don't do a 7-hour open bar. It's probably not a great idea. Make sure nobody feels pressured to drink. These are just general HR kind of guidelines, right? Make sure everybody has an option to not drink. Make sure you're not standing at the bar going boo if they decide to order a club soda. It's not a good look. And then, be extra special careful of the folks that you think might be that tipping point, right? That then they're almost there on those inappropriate jokes to begin with. It might be a good idea to either suggest that they have some club soda or, push them in the direction of the bar nuts.
Right.
Make sure that they're
so
full.
Let me throw a couple scenarios at you.
Yeah, throw some scenarios.
And these are unrehearsed scenarios.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard them before, so I don't know how
if you in reality they are unrehearsed. So if you don't have an answer for it, we'll just fake our way through it. But you're pretty good at these things, so I assume you do. Let's take an example where you're having an office party. Maybe you have a Main Street office location.
Sure.
You're right in the heart of the village. It's St. Patrick's Day. The weather happens to be beautiful.
Which it is today, 65.
Right? There's a ton of people walking up and down the street. You decide you want to open the doors and invite some people in and have a drink with you. Is that okay?
I don't see why not. So it doesn't say that you can only serve your employees. I mean, think about any party that you have, right? You're probably gonna have spouses, or significant others that might come along, or you might have, an adult child, for instance, or ex-employees that are still hanging around and coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's okay.
that's
I
okay.
bring it up. That's a real scenario that we've dealt with. That question has come up before. What sort of
Around St. Patrick's Day.
for St. Patrick's Day party, surprisingly. What about a situation where you're the firm principal? And let's make this a two-part question.
Oh no.
What sort of
I need real beer.
Well, okay, we'll make it a one-part question. What type of responsibility as the firm principal do you have to make sure that your employees don't get in their car and drive home after having overindulged?
Yeah, so while there might be insurance for it in case you get pulled into something and someone alleges that you overserved the driver, which is likely to be the case, right? Especially where dram shop laws exist. And although, obviously we're not a bar, if you overserve somebody, they're going to be looking for deep pockets. You have a responsibility as a human to make sure that someone doesn't get in their car after they've been overserved. And I know one firm in particular, downstate, Long Island, when they have an office get together, they arrange for black car service for all of their employees. So they make sure that any event that they have includes safe rides to and from the event. So while you might have some coverage, again, like we said in I think one of the cyber tips, prevention is better than any medicine. Prevention is better than any medicine across the board, and that's inclusive of this situation. Make sure you get them home in a safe way, or make sure that you're not over-serving to begin with.
Right. So, all right, you bled right into the second part of what my question was going to be. So that's a good tip then. To we've covered the fact that is there coverage for your office party type scenario? Yeah, there is. That's good. Great news. We can have those. Are we responsible for it? Yeah. Does that responsibility bleed into other areas, like
other coverages?
Yeah, like employment practices, liability, things that we need to be aware of. Yeah. And is there really a lot that we can do about that? No, because we can't control what our employees say and do at an office party, just like we can't control what they say and do when they're here at work. But awareness of the fact that exposure exists is smart. And then in terms of best practices and risk mitigation, which is what we do. The best thing that we can advise our clients and our business owners and our firm principals to do is just, don't be the one that overindulges, number one, so that way you can sort of manage whether or not everybody else may or may not be overindulging, and then just make sure that you have a plan to get people home safely.
Yeah, so just to back up on one thing quickly, the standard of reasonableness, what reasonable steps should you take to protect? So while you can't control what your employees do or say, you can make sure that they have proper training and recognize when something is discriminatory.
Well, thankfully, we're in New York and it's mandatory.
Right.
But it isn't in all states.
No, it isn't in all states. So making sure that you have a solid anti-discrimination, anti-harassment policy in place, that you have a solid training program in place for your employees, and that as things come up, you don't sweep them under the rug. You don't pretend like they don't happen. You address them head on. You deal with them. So that's one way that employers can protect themselves, or it can say that they acted reasonably, and that this is a lone wolf kind of situation where this person had a little too much to drink and said something inappropriate. So like you said, it's employment practices liability that would cover down on that harassment, right? The cute little flirting thing that happens at 1 beer, becomes a really aggressive behavior at 4 beers, could turn into something really ugly.
Let's make sure that we're clear. It doesn't have to.
Well, now remember, harassment has to be received that way, right? So if someone is receptive, and then also, what are your company policies on those kind of things? Not that every office party is going to be just filled with people going off together, but understanding what your company policies are on that too. If you have an anti-dating policy, I don't know that anybody does anymore, but if you do, should know that. Make sure everybody is aware that it's an extension of the work day. This is still a work activity, even if you're out of town, even if it's overnight, even if it's, it's still a work thing. And
sometimes a quick, simple reminder of that from the boss goes a long way.
Yeah.
Just, keeping that on the forefront of people's mind while they, start their happy hour activities.
Their drinking events.
Let's not forget we're still at work.
Right. And especially for supervisors and managers, a joke that you and I might make and laugh about isn't really funny if it's to one of our subordinates, right? Or there might be pressure to respond positively to that, whatever the case might be. So being cognizant and sensitive to that is really important. But making sure too that if you're really concerned about those situations, that you have the right policies in place. Now, I think everyone should have employment practices liability in place anyway. It's kind of like cyber, especially, with the way the world has changed and the sensitivity to these issues, people being more sensitive, more willing to stand up and say, hey, this isn't okay. Employment practices liability, inclusive of third parties. So those are the kinds of policies that you can consider having in order to protect you. But you can safely have a not beer party at your office.
Well, I think we've definitely drawn the parallel between the office party that serves alcohol and the propensity for discrimination and harassment issues to arise. I think we've done a good job making that connection, because there is definitely a correlation to it, and we see that on the claim side of things. And so that's why we bring it up today. We do hope that a lot of firms that we work with regularly are having their St. Patrick's Day happy hour and office parties today. We hope everybody's observing this for all that they can and doing it in a safe and fun way. We certainly are. And hopefully everybody catches this and picks up a good tip or two that they can take with them.
At least a good laugh.
Yeah. And so thanks for being here, Jen.
Hey, thanks, Eric.
I really appreciate
this. Is great.
This has been just the tips with Jenn and Eric. And I think we really did well today.
We really did well. I think we should celebrate.
That's a good idea.
Thanks, everybody.
Let's have some more not beer.